from Laurel, Maryland, this is NASA's coverage of the double asteroid redirection test's planned impact with asteroid Dimorphos.
In a galaxy where asteroids have pummeled planets for billions of years, now one planet strikes back. For the first time in our planet's history, NASA will test an asteroid deflection technique. It's the first planetary defense method of its kind. NASA's double asteroid redirection test will intentionally ram itself into an asteroid and alter its orbit forever. At the crossroads of science fiction and reality, DART is part of our plan to defend planet Earth against potential future impacts. The test to protect the future of our planet takes place today.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us from Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, home to the DART Mission Operations Center. I'm your host, Tahira Allen with NASA Communications, and tonight we're following the real-time journey of the DART spacecraft and its planned collision with asteroid Dimorphos. The Double Asteroid Redirection Test, also known as DART, is the world's first planetary defense test mission of its kind. At 7:14 p.m. Eastern, it will demonstrate an asteroid deflection technique known as kinetic impact. Rest assured, this is only a test. The asteroid DART intends to impact is not a threat to Earth now, nor will it be after the collision. We have live views of the action from space, so keep an eye on the DART cam in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Right now, you're only seeing a black screen with a single point of light. That point contains two asteroids in it, Didymos with a smaller asteroid named Dimorphos orbiting around it. As long as we continue to receive these live views from DART, we're going to keep that feed up on your screen. As we get closer to impact, the asteroid will begin to take shape, and eventually Dimorphos will fill your entire screen. You'll also notice a countdown clock indicating how close we are to impact and a progress bar that will check off key milestones along the way. Now, as we follow pre-impact operations, we invite you to join us as we check in with Mission Control for live updates and track DART's final milestones. We'll see two astronauts demonstrate what kinetic impact looks like in space, and we'll go behind the scenes at one of the observatories following DART's impact from Earth. You can participate in today's show tonight by submitting questions for our experts to answer live on air. Drop them into the stream wherever you're watching, or use the hashtag #PlanetaryDefender on social media. Now, we're a little over 70 minutes out from impact at 7:14 p.m. Let's now meet your co-host, Samson Rainey, joining us live from the Mission Operations Center. Samson, it's good to see you. How does it feel to be in the middle of the action tonight?
Hey, Tahira, I am feeling great. It is awesome to be back here after co-hosting DART's launch just 10 short months ago. How's the energy over there?
Wow, that's amazing, Samson. You know, everybody's super excited. I've been talking to some scientists and engineers before the show, and it's really just anticipation about what's going to happen tonight. So with that, could you give us an update on how things are going with mission operations?
I'm glad you're enjoying it there. This is going to be fun. So I mentioned launch, right? It was a huge event. NASA launches have become a staple of life for space aficionados. But there's never been anything like what we're about to see tonight, an attempt to impact an asteroid in near real time, the first attempt to change the motion of a celestial body. Just wow. If we hit that asteroid, Tahira, I think we're going to see a whole new side of this team that we've never seen before. Because let me tell you, since launch, these engineers and scientists have been eating, sleeping, and breathing this mission. This center has been like a second home for them as they've been monitoring the spacecraft's health and managing everything from propulsion to the power supply, guidance and navigation. The list goes on and on. They've run countless simulations and have rehearsed for this moment time and time again, preparing for anything, and I mean anything that could possibly happen. A quick recap of the last 24 hours. No surprise here, they've been busy. Last night, they performed the sixth and last of what are called trajectory correction maneuvers to aim DART to within 200 meters of Didymos. Then they worked straight through to this morning to make sure that all went smoothly. Then they soldiered on to get us ready for tonight. And here we are, about an hour and 10 minutes from impact, and we're now in what's called the terminal phase, meaning that SmartNav, the autonomous navigation system, is actively guiding the spacecraft as it was designed to do for its final 4 hours. I also received word minutes ago that DART has reached another critical milestone. Draco, the eyes of SmartNav, is able to detect Dimorphos. This is a major goalpost, I have to remind you, because up until now, Draco has only been able to detect Didymos, the much larger asteroid it orbits. The next major milestone we're waiting for is for SmartNav to be locked on or targeting Dimorphos. We'll get more into what that means later. Lots more to come as we draw closer to impact. Back to you, Tahira.
All right. Thank you, Samson. It feels good to know that we are detecting Dimorphos. Now, before we get any closer to impact, let's get to know our spacecraft and its mission. After a beautiful launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base on November 24, 2021, DART has traveled over 400 million miles. And now, in just over an hour, we'll witness the spacecraft collide with asteroid Dimorphos in an attempt to change its orbit forever. The DART spacecraft is about the size of a vending machine and uses hydrazine thrusters for propulsion and roll-out solar arrays for power. It's traveling at about 14,000 miles per hour and will complete the last 4 miles of its journey in just 1 second. DART is on a collision course with asteroid Dimorphos, which is about the height of the Washington Monument and, more importantly, poses no threat to Earth. Dimorphos sits within a double asteroid system and is the smaller moonlet asteroid orbiting its larger companion Didymos. DART has just one instrument on board, and that's a Draco camera, which is feeding images to its autonomous navigation system, steering it straight into the asteroid. Now, teams from around the world have worked hard to get us to this moment. Samson is standing by with NASA's head of science and Johns Hopkins APL's head of space exploration. Let's check in to hear more about the journey.
Thanks, Tahira. To help give us some insight into what it takes to imagine, much less attempt, a mission this ambitious, I have with me Thomas Zurbuchen, Associate Administrator for NASA's Science Mission Directorate, and Bobby Braun, Space Exploration Sector Head at Johns Hopkins APL. Thanks. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thomas, I'll start with you. The mission, this team has been through an intense journey, years in the making, and they're now on the cusp of doing the seemingly impossible. Impacting a tiny asteroid 7 million miles away from Earth with a spacecraft traveling 14,000 miles per hour. Why is it important for us to continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in space?
You know, what I always think is the world is made out of a box. Those are things we know, we can use, and a large space of things that are unknown. In that large space are solutions for problems of the future. There's new research, new understanding of nature. And we at NASA, we're all about moving that boundary back, moving it back to make more things useful for us, like DART, but also understanding nature in a new fashion.
It's incredible, Thomas. Well, based on what we know tonight heading into this main event, you know, what are you thinking about our chances of impact?
Wow, I'm betting on the team. Betting on the team is always the right thing to do when it comes to NASA missions, whether it's this one or other teams we've had. The thing you just announced, you know, that kind of seeing that little bump there in the image of that new kind of celestial body we knew was there, but now we've have it on the camera. It's just a step in that direction. I'm very optimistic.
That's awesome. What the team has planned for months, years ago is coming to fruition, and we're watching it live.
Absolutely. It's just exciting.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Bobby, you've been through so many white-knuckle experiences with space missions, most recently with the landing of the Mars Perseverance rover just last year. What is the mindset of the team coming to such a major moment in their career with the stakes being so high?
Well, teams like this prepare for the worst, but celebrate the best. And I think we're going to have one of those best nights tonight. There are, of course, many things that could go wrong in spaceflight, but so far this team's been on top of every possible problem. They've been ahead of it, and they just need to focus and push through and go for success.
That's awesome. I think from what we're hearing, the cheers coming out of the mock before this broadcast, I feel like we're on the right track.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Any pep talk or advice for the team heading into tonight that you gave them?
Well, I've been in the mock several times today talking with the team. They're calm, they're cool, they're collected. I basically told them just follow the data, trust in each other, trust in themselves. You know, they've prepared for this moment for years, and so they know this better than anybody. And as a team, they're going to get through this successfully.
Awesome. Thank you both. That's great words of wisdom for moving forward in space, and it seems like the team is in good hands with themselves. All right, Tahira, we're attempting the once unthinkable, but the team has prepared for this moment, now to keep a steady course on this last mission-defining leg. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Samson. I mean, it is incredible what the teams are pulling off tonight. This is a first-of-its-kind mission, testing a way to one day save our planet from a hazardous asteroid. Now, we asked astronauts aboard the International Space Station to show us how this technique works in microgravity, and they had some fun with it. Now, before we get to the video, I urge you to keep a close eye on Shane. He's going to be in the blue shirt and standing in for asteroid Dimorphos. A white object is about to come crashing into him. That's our spacecraft. You'll notice how the impact of the crash moves Shane's position in space. This demo, much like DART's test, relies on the energy transfer from a collision to change the motion of an object. The method, which is called kinetic impact deflection, is the technique DART will test at 7:14 p.m. Eastern. Let's take a look.
So what I'll do, Shane's going to be the asteroid, and I'm going to be the NASA DART mission. Or this CTV, more exactly, is going to be a spacecraft. I'm going to try to throw it, and we'll look at the effect of that mass coming at him and the kinetic energy transfer from the CTV to Shane. Shane will be pretty good.
All right, now back on Earth, we're taking your questions live in just a few minutes. Send them in using the hashtag Planetary Defender and stand by. It's time now for our first status poll update. Let's head to Samson to check in on DART's progress. Samson, how are we looking?
Hey, Tahira. We are entering the 60-minute mark until impact, and as you noted, the team is about to conduct a poll, which is essentially a status update to check that key systems are in working order. We're talking Draco image quality, smart nav, guidance and navigation, ground systems performance, everything that's anything to do with getting us to impact. All right, I think the poll is about to get underway. Let's start to listen in. We are waiting for that poll to begin any second now.
Martin F1 off console.
Waiting on that first poll of the evening. There will be two polls, one at 60 minutes, which is now, and one at 30 minutes. Afterward, we should be hearing from Elena Adams, the mission systems engineer, to give us a summary of what we'll have just heard.
All right, folks, we're an hour prior to impact. Woohoo! And we're seeing Dimorphos, so wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's do our poll. Image quality? Let's start with you.
Images are looking great. Dimorphos is coming in at about the same relative dimness as Didymos, so very consistent brightness between the two. And it's a stable track.
That's awesome. All right, SmartNav?
SmartNav is looking good. We're sitting at about 30 meters of projected miss distance. There is no movement right now on the bars for doing a maneuver, but we do expect that when we transition in about 10 minutes that we'll see a maneuver at that point.
Yeah, that's great. And at this point, because we have a stable track, we do expect to transition over at that
correct.
time. So that's really good. Whew, that's good. All right, GNC.
GNC is nominal. We're ready to burn.
That sounds good too. And maneuver. All right. Let's see. Autonomy.
Autonomy is nominal. Heaters are cycling and no more fault rules.
All right. DSN?
DSN looks good, and we don't see any sign of rain, and ESA looks good as well.
That's good. And then ground system?
Ground system is nominal, and we have a clear vision of Dimorphos on the image display now.
Yes, it looks great. Thank you, guys. All right. One more poll after this, but in the meantime, we're going to hopefully transition at 15 minutes to locking. So stand by.
All right, we're going to hear from Lena ourselves to give us a update. Hey, Lena. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. That sounded like a great poll. Any words about what we just heard?
Oh, we're very excited. We are starting to see Dimorphos for the first time. It is looking great. It is just about the same dimness as Didymos as we expected. And so we are getting ready to transition. We have a stable track at this point. It's about 7 pixels in size. And yeah, we're ready to go.
It's great news, Lena. Thanks so much. I'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a great update. Joining me in reacting to that bit of news is Angela Stickle, planetary geologist and a DART investigation team lead. Angela, you just heard the poll, you just heard Lena. Things seem like they're going really well. What are you feeling? What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm so excited. This is fantastic. We can see Dimorphos, and we're on our way.
Gosh. Basically, we just got to keep humming along, right?
Right.
It's awesome.
Heading in.
Gosh, well, let's quickly talk about the next major milestone that's ahead of us, locking on target with Dimorphos, which could happen as early as 10 or so minutes from now. Right now, SmartNav is still targeting Didymos, right? But locking onto Dimorphos means, all right, Dimorphos, you are bright. You are consistently bright enough. I'm ready to start targeting you. Can you dive into what that means a little bit more?
Yeah, exactly. So SmartNav is looking for bright parts of the image, and so as Dimorphos gets closer and it's brighter and bigger, SmartNav will just target onto it as opposed to Didymos, and we'll be on our way to impact.
That is awesome. Thank you, Angela. That's very cool stuff. Good luck with the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Great. And while we wait, we want to invite you to celebrate the life of an important member of our DART team. Pulling off extraordinary events requires extraordinary people, and Ray Harvey was just that. A leader, an engineer, a friend. Ray devoted his life to making the impossible possible. Tonight, we pay tribute to DART's former mission operations manager.
Ray Harvey was our mission operations manager for DART, but I've known Ray since I've been at the lab, which is about 14 years. As a young engineer, having people like Ray was actually extremely important because you could go ask Ray a question. He would tell you a joke, but he would also give you an answer, so you didn't feel awkward asking questions. You would just feel good coming out with more knowledge, but also you had fun in the process.
I've known Ray probably since I started working here almost 25 years ago, and he was always like a good mentor and a sounding board for anything we were doing. I think everybody learned something from Ray, his leadership skills, how to treat people, how to work as a team.
Ray was a pretty amazing person. Even though he was fighting this terrible disease, he made it a point to be involved in all the rehearsals and all the activities going on DART. He led the mission operations team to the last few days of his life.
He was really hoping to make it to the end of this mission. He meant so much to this team and to getting us to this point.
It represents so many years of hard work, of him and also the team, but him leading that team. And so the DART spacecraft is a tribute to Ray.
We are hoping that this experience kind of goes out to Ray and to his family. We will really miss him, and we already miss him.
Ray has touched so many lives. Even in the short time that I knew him, he was so generous with his knowledge, and he made you feel like you belonged. Ray, you'll be greatly missed. This one's for you. Tahira.
Thank you, Samson, for that beautiful dedication. Now, if you're just joining us, we're under an hour away from the DART spacecraft's head-on collision with asteroid Dimorphos. DART's mission is a test of a planetary defense technique that could one day save humanity. Rest assured, the test poses no threat to Earth. The spacecraft is almost 7 million miles away from us right now, and you're watching a live stream of its approach to Dimorphos. It takes about 45 seconds for the images you're seeing in the DART cam to make their way back to Earth. Any moment now, we should learn if DART is ready to commit to impact. While we wait, I'm here with Andy Rivkin, DART Science Investigation Lead, and Mallory D. Coster, DART Impact Modeler. Andy, Mallory, while we wait to learn if DART is ready to commit to Dimorphos, I can't help but wonder, why this asteroid?
That's a great question. The way that the double asteroid redirection test was designed, it was to measure the period change in a binary asteroid system. So we needed a binary asteroid, so that eliminates some number of objects. We needed something with a moon that was small enough that we could move it with a strike from a spacecraft, but not so small that we wrecked the moon. So when you kind of tick off all the possibilities, Didymos really ended up as the best choice and really the only choice that would provide a mission in this time period.
See, I want to go back to that. You mentioned having a moon that we could push but not destroy. Could you, now in pop culture a lot, we see that, you know, oftentimes the idea is to just totally try to demolish the asteroid. Why have we chosen to not test that technique this time?
Yeah, the conventional wisdom for planetary defense is that you don't want to disrupt an object and blow it into a zillion pieces, but you want to keep it intact and just move it all as one piece. Because if you move it all in one piece, then you can keep track of it a lot easier. If you blow it into a million pieces, then some of them might still Earth, and you don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah, we might have more issues then. So we know that we have the perfect test subject. Mallory, now can you help us understand how, if mission success, DART's mission tonight can help improve models for mitigating hazardous asteroids in the future?
That's exactly right. So we stand to learn a lot from this DART impact. DART is both a technology demonstration as well as a really big science experiment. So from a technology standpoint, we're going to see if we have what it takes to autonomously navigate a spacecraft into a relatively small celestial body, something the size of a football stadium, that's pretty far away from Earth. From a science perspective, we get to perform one of the largest and fastest impact experiments that man has done, something that could never be accomplished in a laboratory here on Earth. So we're going to learn how these large sizes, these fast impact velocities, and also these sort of extraterrestrial asteroid materials respond to deflection.
Wow, I mean, there's so much about tonight that we don't know, and it seems like your fun is just getting started, right, until after impact. So Mallory, Andy, thank you so much. And tonight, ground-based telescopes aren't the only one watching the action. A small cube satellite built by the Italian Space Agency was deployed by DART 15 days ago and has been in the area to give us a bird's-eye view of impact. Here's more on Lichia Cube. is a global effort to prepare humanity for the unthinkable. Before the spacecraft can complete its mission, the autonomous navigation system must first confirm a lock on target. This is a key milestone that we should be hearing about soon. So let's go back to Samson for the latest from mission operations.
Hey, Tahira, we are less than 50 minutes out, and we just heard big news. We have reached the point where SmartNav is now target locked onto Dimorphos. That progress bar should move to your right that much further, closer to impact. Very exciting. In the meantime, joining me is someone who worked on the instrument playing a starring role with this major milestone and basically all the way up to impact. Lisa Wu, mechanical engineer who helped install the Draco camera and built its cover. Lisa, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So we just heard big news. We hit this target lock. It could have come fairly later than this, but we're in a good spot with this target.
Exactly.
How are you feeling?
I am so excited. I'm sure the entire team is ecstatic. This is what we've been working so hard for in these very last moments, and we just heard we got target lock, so could not be feeling any better.
Very exciting. I mean, we are humming along. So a quick recap, SmartNav is DART's autonomous navigation system. It's been called the brains of the spacecraft. And right now it's essentially maneuvering that spacecraft on its own, as it will be for the last 4 hours. A Draco imager, it's providing SmartNav with that unflinching view of Dimorphos, about an image per second. It is the eyes of the spacecraft. Lisa, what makes this camera perfect for this mission?
Yeah, of course. So the Draco instrument is a very, very high resolution, narrow field of view telescope. The image quality, let's go back. Draco is a descendant of the Lori telescope, which might sound familiar because it took the very first pictures of Pluto on the New Horizons mission, which also might sound very familiar because that is an APL-led mission. So if you've ever seen the first pictures of Pluto, that is the amazing quality that we have on DART.
That's incredible heritage. And yeah, anyone who saw those images of Pluto, those were amazing, and that kind of ups the ante for what we're going to see with these pictures of Dimorphos, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we all know about, a lot of us have smartphones with, cameras. We have cracks, we have smudges. How did your team make sure that this camera made it in pristine condition to get to this point?
Of course. So our flight hardware, including this instrument, was made in the clean room. Very, very high clean facility. In order to make sure that the telescope works, we had to put it through a lot of electrical testing, optical testing, alignment testing. We had to make sure it performs as we intended. And then not only that, you have to take this instrument and put it through all the environments that it will see through space. So we put it through vibration testing, thermal vacuum chamber testing, all to make sure that it performs and it will survive through space.
That's amazing. Test, 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 and test again, right?
Yes.
This is how we get to a stage like this. That is
exactly
awesome. That is great. Thanks so much, Lisa. The number of astounding technologies that are on board this spacecraft is amazing, but doing the impossible requires nothing less than the astounding, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tahira, we have the technology. Clearly, we have the talent. Now we wait for history. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Samson. It feels good to know that we have locked on target Dimorphos. Now, earlier we asked you to send in your questions by using the hashtag Planetary Defender. And I am joined now by two real-life planetary defenders. We have Kelly Fast and Lucas Paganini, both from NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office. Let's dive into what you want to know. So, Kelly, Lucas, before I get to social media questions, we actually have a special question from a familiar face, especially if you're into football. So let's take a moment and hear from him.
What's up? I'm Joshua Dobbs, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and I have a question for NASA's DART team. On the field, I have to use precision passing in order to get the football in the hands of my teammates, and at least I can see where they are. For NASA's DART team, how are you able to aim a spacecraft at an object so far away?
You know, that's a really good question, Kelly, and I mean, we haven't really done this before. How can we aim?
Right.
That's
Well,
something
and
that far.
but I have to say, Joshua does in a few seconds what we've taken, years to do. Just as he has to throw it where he knows that the player will be, throw his football where the player will be. Dart needs to end up where Didymos and Dimorphos will be, and so that orbit, and then the people who launched Dart to its destination navigated there. So there's just a lot more calculations involved, which Joshua does in his head.
Yeah.
And then there's this autonomous navigation. It would be like he had a football that could navigate itself.
Yeah.
And so we have that to lean on that he doesn't. And so that's what helps get to that destination.
All right, nice. I mean, it's very impressive. And so we have another question from Jonathan on Facebook, who wants to know, how can a small satellite like DART be able to impact something as big and heavy as an asteroid and actually move it?
Right. And it's all about momentum, right? We have this tiny asteroid of about 160 meters, the size of a football field. And then you have this spacecraft, which is about 500 kilograms. So it's all about momentum, right? You have this massive asteroid and this tiny spacecraft, and how do you move it? It's all about mass and velocity. Since we don't have enough mass in that spacecraft, we have to really impact it hard, and that's why we're impacting it at 4 miles a second, which is outstanding.
Which is amazing. And I mean, we're actually going to get to watch impact live take place. And so that gets me to my next question. We have Metal Money on Twitter who asks, what is the size of the blast on the asteroid? Kelly, could you explain a little bit about that?
Well, and that's something that we're hoping to find out from this mission, because there's physics and calculations, but actually when you're dealing with a real asteroid that we haven't seen close up before, and what type of material might be on the surface, what the structure is, this is something that, like Lucia Cube, we hope to see as Lucia Cube flies by, to see what that blast was, how large it was, which will help those who are doing the modeling of how effective the impact was, and in changing the orbit, what all figures in, what Lucas just talked about, the mass and the velocity, but then also maybe that blast that is seen afterwards, the plume of material that we're hoping to see from Lucia Cube.
So how does tonight's mission play into the work that y'all do in NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, Lucas?
Yeah, I would start by saying that this is a very important test. We're going to know if this kinetic impact is an effective technique to use in the case that there would be any potential asteroid en route to Earth. So definitely, for me, that's the most important thing about this test.
But then on top of that, there's finding the asteroids, because you can't go out and mitigate a possible threat if you don't even know it's there. And so NASA is very focused also on finding near-Earth asteroids with telescopes that survey the skies every night, looking for near-Earth asteroids, getting the orbits calculated, figuring out where they're going to be in the future to see if we even need something by DART, and then working to speed that up. NASA's working on the Near-Earth Object Surveyor space telescope that would look in the infrared and have a different perspective, complement the ground-based telescopes to accelerate things, just so that we know, is there a threat out there that we're facing that we do not yet know about?
Wow, I mean, it's incredible just to know the work that is already being done. It's good to know that we're building off of it, but it's good to know we've already got some people watching the skies. Yeah. And so I have our next question from Alan on Twitter, who asks, how long does it take for pictures to reach Earth? Kelly.
Well, the time it takes light and then a radio signal from the spacecraft to come to Earth is 38 seconds. But then there's also the time needed to process the images, so a few more seconds on top of that. So under a minute, but still it's not instantaneous, because it's a ways out there.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, but under a minute to get something back from space, I'd say we're doing pretty good right there. Right. So, Lucas, Kelly, thank you so much for everything that y'all are doing to keep our planet safe.
Thanks, Sahir.
And so it's important to note that tonight we're attempting something that's never been done. And with that presents many challenges to overcome. Here's what makes DART a first-of-its-kind mission.
The DART mission is a very difficult mission because we are trying to do something that hasn't been done before.
This is the first time we're going to an asteroid that is this small, this dark, and we're actually going to attempt an impact.
The DART mission is really something that the whole world can get behind.
We're doing this mission to prove that we can deflect an asteroid if we find one that is on an impact course for Earth.
We are trying to hit an asteroid 163 meters wide, which is about the size of the Washington Monument, while flying at 6 kilometers per second, which is like going from New York to DC in about a minute.
There is no chance that this asteroid could ever hit Earth.
It's a very small asteroid. It's only about the size of a small football stadium, and it's almost 7 million miles away from the Earth. That's 28 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon.
There's kind of a limit on how much mass you can launch into space. You know, rockets are only so big. So our spacecraft is only the size of a golf cart.
Draco is the primary instrument on the DART spacecraft. It is the camera that is going to be imaging the Didymos system as we approach.
When we first see the asteroid through Draco, it's just going to look like a pixel.
There's a star tracker on board that takes images of the stars and compares them to a known catalog to determine which way it's pointing in space. It poses the biggest risk because very, very small errors in this measurement can spell the difference between success and failure. And those measurements are going to be fed into the SmartNav algorithm that's going to be making the autonomous course correction commands that will put us on an intercept course.
There is a very small probability that we don't hit the asteroid.
Even if we do everything right, our sensors work well, our spacecraft is doing well, we are looking, we're finding the asteroid, even then, we might still miss.
We're trying to teach a computer how to recognize an object we've never seen before.
And the way it does that is by taking pictures of the asteroid and then interpreting where it is in space and guiding itself to it.
The spacecraft is controlling itself. SmartNav is guiding the spacecraft. And we have very limited ability to respond in that time. So it has to do it all by itself.
And at about 2.5 minutes out, we cease all maneuvering and we coast until we hit the asteroid.
It is going very, very fast towards the asteroid, traveling at 6 kilometers per second.
200 times faster than a car on the freeway. So when we hit, all of that mass, all of that momentum pushes the asteroid.
Even giving it a small nudge will allow it to change its course.
But if we did see an asteroid on track for Earth, this would be enough of a deflection.
It's like a bittersweet moment. Yeah, all this hard work just got destroyed, but that was exactly why we put it all together.
Of all the endeavors that we do for space and in space, this is probably one of the ones that one day will be the most important thing that we've ever done.
In the future, I hope that DART can teach us what ways work and what ways don't work for planetary defense.
Because it is humankind's first demonstration that we have gained the knowledge and the technology to be able to protect the Earth from an asteroid impact.
Space exploration is rooted in pushing past boundaries. Remember, tonight is a test, and we hope to make impact. Now that you've learned of the challenges today's test, let's head back to mission operations and get a status update on DART's real-time progress. Samson, how are we looking?
Hey, Tahira, we have 30 minutes to go until impact. As we heard earlier, so far so good. SmartNav is now targeting Dimorphos, thrusters are firing, maneuvering the spacecraft. Draco, DART's eye, playing paparazzi with Dimorphos, providing SmartNav with about an image per second. And this is a good time to remind you that what we're seeing on the Draco feed is delayed by about 45 seconds on account of signal delay and image processing. And coming up, we're about to see the team conduct a final poll, one last scheduled confab to make sure that all systems are go. And as we head to that, I have someone with me who knows a thing or two about ensuring spacecraft readiness and integrity. Betsy Congdon, DART's mechanical systems engineer. Betsy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
So you led the team that literally put DART together, is that right, Betsy?
Yeah, so my job is to make sure the engineers and the technicians all physically put all these boxes that you've been hearing, bolts and all onto a spacecraft altogether.
I gotta ask, with mission so ambitious. How many hours, how many years, how many people? Do you have any idea at this point?
Oh, man. So, I mean, DART has been thought about for a long time, but really started in earnest about 5 years ago. We started building up the spacecraft and, you know, in that assembly that I was talking about 2.5 years ago. And so it's been hundreds of hours, you know, to make something like this possible. People with all sorts of talents. You've seen a lot of them today.
That's incredible. And so we're heading up toward another status update, as I said earlier. And as we all know, space is a unique and challenging environment. When you're assembling DART, what were the key boxes you were checking off of that very long quality assurance list to get the spacecraft to where it is right now and hopefully till impact?
So space is very hard, and so what we do is each individual component, Lisa was talking about this earlier, goes through its own individual testing, and then we put the whole spacecraft together, and we will check out the electrical systems, making sure all the boxes are working and talking to each other. We put it into a vacuum chamber, make sure it's going to work in space, put it through all the different temperatures it's going to see, and then put it on a shaker table and actually mimic launch. And so it actually goes through all of that as a full spacecraft as well as individual components. So we go through a lot of testing, mission operations, mission simulations to get to this point.
That's incredible. I mean, I don't know if you included, you mentioned so much, Ray. Is that also accounting for the temperature fluctuations in space? That's another key part.
Yeah, so we have chambers here at APL that are specially built to take these spacecraft, put them into the vacuum of space, and run them through the temperature spaces that we're going to actually see.
It's incredible. How many times do you check? Is it like one test and we're done, or are you sometimes testing and testing?
Lots and lots of testing, and that's what makes it, you know, so perfect. We're seeing these great images coming in because of all that testing and all of that work. So, you know, you don't do anything once. You're doing it many times because once it's in space, there's not a lot of ways to fix it.
Right. Well, do you ever, you know, think about that one panel, that one component that gave you a little bit of heartburn in the clean room, and you're up at night thinking, I think that thing is going to hold true up until the end?
Everything is looking really good. I will say, you know, we had a lot of new technologies, which are really exciting. The Rosa solar arrays had never been integrated onto a spacecraft before, and so that was like a challenge, but one the team was up for, and now it's all ready and working perfectly.
All these new technology demonstrations, I mean, it only adds to the complexity of this mission and to, you know, testing things. I wouldn't say even more so, but it's just as critical. The new technology, everything has to be so to make sure it comes.
Yeah, I mean, all of this new technology just requires extra testing, but that just gains confidence. You know, you're seeing the team working through that, working through all these mission sims. So that's really what makes it exciting. You don't want to just do the same thing over and over. This is what makes APL a special place. We build these special spacecraft that, you know, have never been done before.
The last quick question for you. It's got to be a little bittersweet that a spacecraft you poured heart and soul into is about to careen into an asteroid. How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling great about it. You know, it was designed to careen into the asteroid. It's meeting its destiny. So it's really exciting to see, and I can't wait for impact.
Well, it is serving a purpose. I guess that's why it's easier to let it go.
Exactly, very much so.
That is awesome. Well, I think we are about to get into that final poll in the mock very shortly. So we're going to hear that final 30-minute poll, and then we're going to hear from Lena Adams again, DART's mission systems engineer, to give us that summary of what we just heard, how she's feeling, how they're feeling in there. Very exciting stuff. This will be the final poll of the evening. We are awaiting that final poll.
This is DART MSC on DT Mock. It is time for the last status poll. Yes. We're about, 7,000 miles from Dimorphos at this point, so yay. All right, image quality. How are we doing?
Still looking very good. Dimorphos still tracking along that same brightness predict as Didymos.
That's great. All right.
Maneuver complete.
Yes, thank you. All right. SmartNav.
SmartNav is looking nominal. We are at under 30 meters of projected miss distance right now.
Yeah, it's looking really good. Look at that. That's looking fantastic. Very excited. All right, GNC.
Yeah, GNC also looking good. We've been very excited to do those burns, so we've been waiting a long time.
Oh, this is great. Autonomy.
Autonomy is green. The heaters are cycling nominally, and we've had no new fault rules firing.
Okay, wonderful. DSN.
DSN is green, and ESA is green. Got plenty of margin. Looks good.
All right, ground systems.
Ground system has been helping a few users manage clients, but everything is going fine there, and we are green.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, guys. Completes the poll. Last one. All right, so Didymos is looking like itself. We'll see what Dimorphos is looking like soon. In the meantime, we're going to transition to precision lock at 20 minutes. That's our next milestone. So thanks all.
All right, we're about to hear from Lena Adams from the Mission Operations Center.
Hi, Samson.
Hi, Lena. That sounded very positive. How's it going in there?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. We've locked on Dimorphos. We're maneuvering towards it, and yeah, everything is looking really good. We were at the time of the poll within just a few meters of projected miss distance, which means we were hitting towards the center. And at this point, we're coming back there about 30 meters
Wow, I mean, what an exciting day for the DART team. And in case you're keeping score, humanity 1, asteroids 0. Now, I'm here with Nancy Chabot, DART coordination lead. Nancy, talk about a moment to catch on camera. What is going through your head right now?
I mean, I'm just thinking, wow, that was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, those images, you just got closer and closer, and sort of we've been planning for this moment. We've been talking about it for years. At APL here, we've been working on this since 2015, and I knew, I've been talking, this is the images that we're going to see, and they're going to be spectacular. And I think even then they exceeded my expectations of just zooming in like that, and, you know, it really is just such the team accomplishment, and to get to this moment over so many years. And I don't have to talk about it as coming anymore. It's happened now. We have done this.
It's happened, and it is just incredible that as humans, like, we have done this. We did this. And Nancy, do you have anything you'd like to say to the teams who made tonight possible?
Oh, I mean, I don't need to say anything to the teams because I know everybody like me is really proud to be part of this, right? Proud of this thing that we've been working on for years, you know, and even before 2015, internationally, people wanted to do this. People wanted to take this first test. And then we finally did. Partners across the United States. We have actually 28 countries represented on our investigation team of scientists, telescopes on all 7 continents, everybody doing their part to make this moment happen. I know I'm really honored to be on this team, and I know other people on the team feel the same way.
As you should, Nancy, and I mean, there's a lot to celebrate here tonight. And so now that we have confirmed impact, can you let us know what's next?
Because this is a big deal, and this was a really hard technology demonstration to hit a small asteroid we've never seen before and do it in such spectacular fashion. But I know other scientists on the team, like me, are already pointing at those images, being like, "Did you see that boulder? Did you see that smooth area? Did you see the shape? What does that mean?" And Lychee Cube is like flying by right about now. Their close approach, like taking images, and they're storing them, and we'll get those in the next days. Telescopes here and in space are looking. They're looking at the brightening of the rock that's thrown off from that spectacular collision that we saw. And this is going to go on for weeks. And so there's still a lot of excitement to come, but nothing to take away from this moment.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. It looks like everybody is celebrating here in Mission Operations. I think I just saw Bill Nye there. And so it is a huge day for this team, but also for humanity. You know, Nancy, you mentioned earlier about some of the international collaborations. And could you give us an idea on kind of the scope of DART's mission, right? It's not just us in the United States that's focusing on this. So can you expand a little on that?
Yeah, I mean, planetary defense is really an international issue. We are all on this planet together, right? I mean, and I think it's been so great for this mission to really support and embrace that international cooperation for planetary defense so that we can maximize what we learn. And this idea came about from international scientists talking to each other, working together, you know, in order to make this moment happen for NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office, building the spacecraft here at APL. But really, scientists around the world are ready to study what did we do to Dimorphos, but more importantly, what does that mean for potentially applying this in the future? I mean, DART really is just the start. It's just the first planetary defense test mission. It was spectacular, and it's accomplished, and we'll figure out how effective it was. That's really what we're going to learn in the next weeks to come. All right, we hit this asteroid. Now, how effective was that at deflecting it, and what would that mean for using it?
Yeah, there's still so much to unpackage here. And so we have a special guest who is wondering, you know, more of what's next for this big mission. So let's hear from her now.
Hey everyone, I'm Danny Hansen, American Paralympic rower and hydro athlete. And first, I would like to congratulate the entire DART team on crossing the finish line. So congratulations. And with that, here's my question. Now that DART has impacted, how will you know if the spacecraft has actually changed the asteroid's orbit?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a double asteroid system. So all we've done here actually is change slightly how Dimorphos goes around Didymos, right? And the telescopes on the Earth have studied this for years. So we knew it used to be 11 hours and 55 minutes. What is it going to be now? And so the telescopes are going to measure that period change. And they're so good at this. They've done it for decades already to get us to that point. And they're going to work for the next weeks and make that measurement. And when we have it, we're going to be sure to share it with everybody to see how much we did deflect this asteroid with the DART collision.
Wow. Well, Nancy, I mean, it's time for you to celebrate. So congratulations on everything tonight, and go DART.
Oh, go DART. This was spectacular.
Yeah.